What if some things you've worried about your entire life simply stop mattering after 70? Not because you've given up, but because you finally gained the wisdom to see what truly deserves your time and energy. After speaking with hundreds of vibrant seniors, I've discovered a powerful pattern. The happiest people in their 70s, 80s, and beyond aren't those with perfect health or bulging bank accounts. They're the ones who've mastered the art of letting go. Today I'm sharing 7 things that become meaningless after 70. Backed by research and echoed by seniors across America. Each insight offers a gateway to extraordinary freedom that you've earned through decades of living. If you've ever felt weighed down by expectations or worried you're doing aging wrong, this message is for you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments below and hit that subscribe button for more life-changing wisdom. Now, let's start with something you've probably worried about since childhood. 1. Other people's opinions. Remember when you used to lie awake at night, replaying a conversation, wondering if you said the right thing? There was a time when the weight of others' judgments felt so heavy it could shape your entire day. But somewhere in the journey beyond 70, those opinions begin to lose their grip on your heart. Martha, a 74-year-old retired teacher from Minnesota, shares her awakening with a sparkle in her eyes. I spent decades as everyone's people pleaser, she says. My clothes, my home, even my opinions, all carefully curated to avoid disapproval. Then came her moment of liberation. One morning, I stood before my closet, changing outfits for the 3rd time, when I suddenly asked myself, who am I trying so hard to please? In that moment, something inside me just released. Now Martha tends her garden of wildflowers, despite her neighbor's raised eyebrows, speaks her truth at community meetings, and wears the bright colors that bring her joy. I smile more now than I ever did at 50, she confides. Not because life is easier, but because I'm finally living it as myself. What's happening in Martha's brain reflects something beautiful about our journey through time. Research shows that as we age, our minds naturally shift toward emotional well-being over social conformity. It's not decline, it's evolution. This freedom doesn't mean becoming unkind or dismissive. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between opinions that matter, like your doctor's medical advice, and those that simply don't, like judgments about how you should dress, speak, or live. When you release the need for universal approval, you reclaim something precious, the energy to nurture what truly nourishes your soul. There's a quiet power in moving through the world without constantly monitoring others' reactions to you. It's not arrogance. It's the self-acceptance you've earned through decades of living. What burden of others' expectations might you set down today? What authentic expression of yourself has been waiting patiently to emerge? 2. Trying to follow trends. Our culture whispers a relentless message. Stay current or become invisible. From fashion to technology to lifestyle fads, there's always something new you supposedly must embrace. But beyond 70, a beautiful realization often dawns. Most trends are merely passing shadows, while authentic living is timeless. Frank, a thoughtful 78-year-old retired accountant, smiles as he shares his journey. I used to upgrade my phone every year like clockwork, he admits. It wasn't about features, it was about fear. Fear of seeming outdated, of being that old guy who couldn't keep up. His perspective shifted through his 12-year-old granddaughter's innocent question. Grandpa, why do you keep buying new phones when you only use them for calls and our photos? Her words stopped me in my tracks. Frank reflects. I realized I was spending not just money, but precious time learning systems I didn't need, all to impress people who weren't even paying attention. Today, Frank uses a simple phone that meets his needs perfectly. The money he once spent chasing digital status symbols now funds quarterly fishing trips with his grandchildren, creating memories that no device could ever capture. Marketing experts deliberately create what they call artificial obsolescence, making us feel that what we have, and by extension who we are, isn't enough without the newest thing. It's designed to keep us consuming, regardless of our actual needs or values. But at 70 plus, you've witnessed enough cycles to recognize the pattern. You've seen wide leg pants come and go and come again. You've watched revolutionary diets transform into forgotten fads. You understand, perhaps better than anyone, that what's truly valuable rarely changes with the seasons. This isn't about rejecting innovation that genuinely enhances your life. If new technology helps you connect with loved ones more easily, embrace it wholeheartedly. The key is discernment, choosing what serves your authentic needs rather than chasing the mirage of eternal relevance. Wear what feels good on your body. Use tools that simplify rather than complicate. Create a home that feels like your sanctuary, not a showroom. Because true belonging isn't found in following trends. It's found in the courage to live a life that reflects your deepest values. What trend have you felt pressured to follow that doesn't resonate with your authentic self? What would it feel like to release that expectation? 3. Comparing yourself to others. From childhood gold stars to retirement achievements, we're taught to measure our worth against others. Who has the more successful children, the more impressive travel photos, the more active social calendar? But somewhere beyond the 7th decade, many discover a profound truth. Comparison is a thief, and what it steals is your ability to recognize the unique beauty of your own journey. Gloria, whose gentle eyes reflect her 75 years of life experience, remembers how she once measured herself against her college roommate's seemingly perfect life. Sarah had everything I thought I was supposed to have. The successful husband, 3 accomplished children who all lived nearby. The picture-perfect holidays, Gloria shares. Meanwhile, I was divorced. My only daughter moved overseas, and health challenges forced me to retire earlier than planned. The turning point arrived unexpectedly. During Gloria's 75th birthday celebration, as friends shared their memories, Gloria experienced what can only be called an awakening. Former patients spoke of how her nursing care had given them dignity during their darkest hours. Neighbors recalled how she'd organized meal deliveries when their children were sick. I'd spent decades feeling less than because my life didn't match someone else's template, Gloria says, her voice soft but strong. That night I finally saw my life through a different lens. Not what it lacked, but the unique tapestry it had become. What Gloria experienced is what psychologists call narrative identity development. The growing ability to honor your unique life story without needing external validation. This capacity actually deepens with age, becoming one of the hidden gifts of growing older. The truth about comparison is that it's always based on incomplete information. You see someone's carefully curated holiday photos without witnessing their private struggles. You notice another person's achievements without seeing the losses that shaped them. It's like comparing your unedited footage to everyone else's highlight reel. When you release the need to measure your journey against others, you discover the freedom to appreciate your path for exactly what it is. Uniquely, beautifully, sometimes messily yours. No one else has lived your precise combination of joys, sorrows, challenges, and triumphs. No one else sees the world through your particular lens of experience. Can you recall a moment when you realized your life didn't need to mirror anyone else's to be meaningful? How did that realization change you? 4. Pushing your body beyond its limits. Remember when ignoring pain was considered a virtue, when pushing through exhaustion earned admiration. For many of us, proving our strength by overriding our body's signals became second nature. But beyond 70, a more profound kind of wisdom often emerges, one that recognizes the difference between determination and self-harm, between independence and unnecessary suffering. Thomas, whose weathered hands tell the story of his 79 years, including decades in construction, shares his revelation with disarming honesty. "I built my identity on never asking for help," he admits. "Even after retirement, I insisted on re-roofing my garage alone, moving heavy furniture by myself, standing for hours despite my arthritis screaming at me to sit. I thought limitations were for other people." Everything changed after a fall that resulted in a broken hip. During his recovery, a compassionate physical therapist offered words that transformed his understanding. She told me that respecting my body wasn't surrendering. It was strategy. Athletes rest between training sessions not because they're weak, but because they understand sustainability. Today, Thomas approaches life with new wisdom. He hires help for major home projects, but stays involved in ways that honor his knowledge and experience. He brings a portable chair to family gatherings. He exercises daily but chooses swimming instead of jogging. "I haven't given up living," he reflects with quiet dignity. "I've just found more sustainable ways to live fully." Research confirms what Thomas discovered through experience. Proper rest actually extends physical capability in older adults. Adequate recovery improves cognitive function, reduces inflammation, and enables muscle repair. All essential factors for maintaining independence longer. This shift isn't about doing less. It's about living better. It's recognizing that pacing yourself, accepting help when needed, and choosing activities that nurture rather than deplete your body are all expressions of wisdom, not weakness. Your body has carried you faithfully through 7 decades of life. It deserves your partnership, not your demands. Listen when it whispers rather than waiting for it to shout. Honor its needs for rest, appropriate movement, and support. Because true strength isn't found in pushing beyond limits. It's found in living sustainably within them. What's one way you might honor your body's wisdom today, even if it means adjusting your previous approach to a task or activity? 5. Holding on to grudges. There's something deceptively protective about a well-tended grudge. The wall of resentment can feel like armor, shielding us from further hurt. Whether it's family discord that has shadowed holidays for years, a friendship betrayal that still stings, or words that cut too deep to forget, these emotional burdens become familiar companions over time. But beyond 70, many discover a life-changing truth. The person most imprisoned by a grudge is the one who carries it. Elizabeth, her 77 years etched in gentle lines around her eyes, shares her journey with rare vulnerability. "My sister and I didn't speak for nearly 20 years after a bitter disagreement about our mother's care," she confides. "I was absolutely certain I was right. I rehearsed that argument in my mind countless times, always emerging morally superior." Her turning point came unexpectedly. After Elizabeth's husband passed away, her estranged sister sent a handwritten letter expressing condolences and sharing memories of their childhood adventures, stories Elizabeth had almost forgotten. Reading her words, something cracked open in me. Elizabeth shares, her voice softening. "I suddenly saw how much life we'd missed sharing. And for what? Neither of us even remembered all the details of the original argument." They began with small steps, a phone call, coffee at a neutral location, and eventually Sunday dinners became a tradition again. "We didn't try to rehash the past," Elizabeth explains. "We simply started where we were, with who we'd become." The science of forgiveness reveals something profound. Brain studies show that holding grudges activates our stress response. releasing cortisol that, over time, damages physical health. Meanwhile, forgiveness activates regions associated with empathy and problem solving. Researchers have even documented improved cardiovascular health in people who practice forgiveness, a literal unburdening of the heart. This doesn't mean minimizing genuine hurt or maintaining relationships that remain harmful. Forgiveness doesn't always require reconciliation. Sometimes it simply means releasing the emotional charge of old wounds so they stop consuming your precious present moments. As Elizabeth discovered, forgiveness wasn't something I did for my sister. It was something I did for myself. It felt like putting down a heavy suitcase I'd been carrying for 20 years. Life is too brief and too precious, especially in its golden years, to let old resentments claim any more of your heart's capacity for joy. Is there a burden of resentment you've been carrying that might be ready for release? What small step might open the door to greater peace? 6. Regretting the past. We all carry moments we wish we could rewrite. Opportunities declined, words spoken in anger, paths not taken that still call to us in quiet moments. Regret can be a persistent companion, following us through the decades. But somewhere beyond 70, something transformative often happens. Your relationship with your past begins to shift in profound and healing ways. Robert, his 81 years visible in his silver hair but belied by his bright eyes, shares how he spent nearly 30 years second-guessing a major life decision. I turned down an overseas position that would have doubled my income, he explains, the old regret still detectable in his voice. I chose stability for my family instead of advancement for my career. The shift in perspective came unexpectedly at his granddaughter's wedding 3 years ago, as Robert watched his extended family celebrate. Children, grandchildren, and friends gathered from near and far. He experienced what psychologists call a narrative reframing. Looking around that room filled with people I love, Robert reflects, I suddenly saw the true harvest of my decision. Not in dollars, but in relationships that had deepened over decades of being present. That career opportunity wasn't a mischance. It was a different path that wouldn't have led to this particular joy. The science behind this transformation is beautiful. Neuroscientists have discovered that older brains actually process regretful memories differently than younger ones. With age comes increased activity in regions associated with emotional meaning-making, and decreased activity in areas linked to self-criticism and rumination. This doesn't mean pretending mistakes never happened. Rather, it means developing what psychologists call integrative memory. The ability to see your past choices within the full context of your life story, with all its complexity, constraints, and growth. Try this healing practice. Take one regret that still visits you. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, ask yourself with genuine curiosity, what did this experience teach me? How did it shape who I am today? What strengths or wisdom did I develop because of this challenge? When you meet old regrets with compassion rather than judgment, they begin to transform from burdens into building blocks of your unique wisdom. You stop punishing yourself for what you didn't know then, and start honoring how far you've traveled since. What past regret might be ready for a more compassionate perspective? How might that release create space for new joy in your life today? 7. Rushing to meet someone else's timeline. From our earliest years, we inherit invisible scripts about when life's significant events should happen. Graduate by this age. Establish your career by that milestone. Retire at this precise point. These cultural timelines can shape our expectations so powerfully that deviating from them feels like personal failure. But beyond 70, many discover a liberating truth. Life's most meaningful experiences honor no schedule but the one written by your own heart. James, who carries his 82 years with gentle dignity, shares how he always harbored a dream of painting. But there was always a reason to postpone it, he explains. First, I was establishing my accounting career, then raising children, then caring for aging parents. After retirement, I told myself I was simply too old to begin something new. Everything changed when James lost his beloved wife of 54 years. During the dark months that followed, his doctor prescribed an unexpected treatment for his grief-related depression. He told me to try something I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. When I mentioned painting, he immediately wrote art classes on a prescription pad and said, "Take this twice weekly, no excuses." 3 years later, James's watercolors hang in a local gallery. "I'm not Rembrandt," he chuckles, but that was never the point. The joy is in the learning, in seeing ordinary things through new eyes. I just wish I hadn't waited for permission to begin. Research in developmental psychology increasingly recognizes that our traditional life timeline is largely a social construction, not a biological reality. Studies show that new neural pathways continue forming throughout life, and novel experiences actually stimulate cognitive health in older adults. The most meaningful aspects of human experience, learning, creating, connecting, loving, finding purpose, have no expiration date. They're available at any point in your journey, provided you're willing to set aside artificial timelines created by others. This applies to emotional growth as well. It's never too late to develop greater patience, to deepen your capacity for compassion, to heal old wounds, or to discover new facets of yourself. Some of life's richest chapters often begin precisely when conventional wisdom suggests the story should be winding down. So if something calls to your heart, a skill to learn, a relationship to heal, an adventure to experience, don't ask if it's too late. Ask instead, is this still important to me? If the answer is yes, then the timing is perfect, regardless of cultural expectations. What have you been telling yourself you're too old to begin? What would it feel like to release that limitation and take one small step forward today? As we've explored these 7 burdens worth releasing, which ones touch something deep within you? Which gave you permission to breathe a little easier? Life beyond 70 isn't about diminishment. It's about distillation. It's about recognizing that some of the heaviest expectations you've carried were never truly yours to bear. The beauty of this stage of your journey is that you've earned the wisdom to distinguish between what truly matters and what merely distracts. You've weathered enough storms to know which ones are worth weathering and which are simply passing clouds. In releasing what no longer serves your heart, whether others' opinions, outdated grudges, or arbitrary timelines, you create sacred space for deeper connections, authentic peace, and unexpected joy. Because ultimately, the most beautiful freedom isn't found in avoiding life's challenges. It's found in choosing which ones truly deserve the precious gift of your attention, your energy, and your love. You've earned this wisdom. Now, may you fully embrace its rewards.